I didn't realise I left it on stream ending. I do apologise. Right. Good evening. It's now 20 past 8 on Saturday night, and I'm awake. um, don't know what else to say other than, it's amazing what getting a decent night's sleep and some decent electrolytes actually does for you. Right, so tonight I'm gonna try and do this tail boom, and the tail wheel, or the tail gear. I'm not entirely sure how far we'll get. I tend to be a little bit more ambitious than common sense dictates. So, let's see what we can do. I'll tell you now, for the bottom of that is definitely messed up. Don't know what is going on there. That should have cut, but it didn't. Unless something else was selected behind it. You can see there's a little kink here. I want to get rid of that. So, not that I'm anything against anyone's kinks, it's just sometimes it doesn't need to be seen in public. Much like me in Speedos. Right, so I know that is slightly too much. Don't know why I'd... Let's just go and have a look at the old model, because... Okay, sorry. It's got pinged for something else on Discord. Right, yeah, I was trying to find a... There we go. A fairly nice picture. So you can see it curves over. So what I'm going to do is, I think, slice to the middle of that and then angle down the back. Let's kill that off. So you see I've got a slight rib going up here. Looking at the picture, we need to get rid of that. So that needs to blend out from about there. So what I need is drag. I'm trying to work out where the split is, because it kind of suggests that it's there. Let me just grab this picture and put it somewhere I can actually see it. Oh, I didn't change that to that. Rename. Main step. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this edge. Excuse me. Yeah, not loving this anyway. Looking at that, I'm probably 3 or 4 polygons too low. Or rather too high. Waiting to watch the world build. That's oddly kind of accurate for today's events, but that's not well. I am honestly thinking of just blowing this away now and starting again. Yeah, fuck it. So, we have... let's get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. We've lost a bit of a line. Right, so what I want... Just go right... So I am just going to extend that up there. For the moment. And I'm going to grab... Oh, why did that not come? So what I want is to grab that at that top edge there. Sorry, just had a bit of a brain fart. So I need to bring all of this out. So the reason I split it into two is there's no way that I could have done this on a single sort of expand. So what I'm trying to do is get a softer transition to something that looks a little bit more, well, it doesn't quite have the obvious cut in it. Again, also trying to preserve the polygon flow, just to make it look smoother, or the model transition smoother. So if you look at that and then look at this, so we're essentially, if you look at the back of the grid, that's kind of the line we're looking at now. So we need to kick up when we go to our right view here. So that's the front grid. It's the front of the grid there. So that line is the crease in, and that's where it needs to blend out. So everything after that is pretty much wrong. So that's where it needs to blend to. So I've actually smoothed the wrong bit. Or rather, part of the wrong bit. Excuse me. So let's just add a few more slices in here so we can do a bit of a, well, we'll do one slice and we can do a transition blend. Sometimes the snap is a royal pain. So if we go to, it doesn't matter front or back at this point. Let's go back. As you can see, that should give us the crease there and it'll smooth that afterwards. I'm gonna do this in a second. So what I want, I'm gonna make a mess of this probably, but so that was up by 38 mil. So let's try and keep it parallel to that because it looks roughly. So if I come in and grab this edge, this could go horribly wrong. So trial and error time. Like I say, I need a little bit of time to get into my groove for modding, and I have. Don't mind saying I have literally just woken up. So right, so that curve is nowhere near adjusting to what I kind of want. So what I'm going to do is still in the scale tool, snap. So I've actually shortened that arc, but still not changed the way that profile flows. So let's try bevel again. So if we now go on to, let's say, front view, you can see it's nice to smooth the transition. If we go into render, sorry, being very sensitive because everything is on. There you go, it's better. So we've got a marked crease that blends out. So, not unhappy with that. Right. So let's get rid of that, because that is no longer needed. So I'm also, because you can just see this, it's just distorting ever so slightly. I'm just going to remove that edge. We are going to end up frigging these a lot to make it transition to what we want it to. So I don't get overly attached to anything right now. It is all going to change. So what I want to do is scale this. I'm scaling it in the X so it fits the taper. Sorry, in the Y so it fits the taper. And I am going to just gently bring that in to 85%, I think. So I want to do away with these if I can. Just bring it down to a single vert. Because there's no point having all those there. So going off the center line means that I shouldn't affect the crease. Oh no, it's not the center line, it's the crease. Duh. It's that bit that's the important part anyway. Right, so what I want we just need to move this up a bit so it matches the other side. Right. Does that show you the back end? Probably not. Let's see if we can find something else that shows the tail rotor from behind. So it tapers off into the tail beam, so I'm alright with that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make a slice roughly on the center line there. I am going to bring it all the way forward, but there's method in that madness. And I need to go perpendicular up. It's not quite perpendicular, but I think that's about right, which is going to be 45 degrees anyway. So I'm going to clear that off. I'm just going to do an edge extend. Rotate 10 degrees or minus 10 degrees. So I could have literally done an array on the shape and just put it across, but it doesn't. I don't find it as easy to control or get a consistent arc that way. So what we want, so I need to give myself a bit of a guide. I think I need new glasses. So minus 15 again. Let's bring it back and snap it in. So minus 15 again. Personal experience: if a woman tells you she's a perfect 10, run. Again, don't have to be perfect with it, but right. We can hide my crimes in a bit. actually bent over far enough, really. Which we will fix. Right, so if I grab 2, 3, just drop them in tail boom. And I scale them. It just gives me, oh, don't want to scale it that much because I need the ends. There we go. So I'm scaling in all 3 dimensions at the moment. So this gives me a construction line that I can cut along and ensure that I get a perfect line. And it's all vectored on the right thing. So what I can do now is, actually I don't need that. So you can see how this is all out. So rather than mess around with it, what I'm just going to do is going to go on. Let's turn that background off. Got a better chance of seeing things then. I am just going to literally snap a line over that. So we've now got an arc that we don't need. So I can just go in here. Something's not right. It's not happy. Yeah, I need to do that. Forgot about doing that. I will say this, I'm usually better than this when I'm teaching because I have a lesson plan. I don't have a lesson plan for this. We are just frigging it as we go. The reason I'm setting these end positions is when you do cuts, when you do scales, whatever, it changes the vector of the vertices off from the scale point. And it calculates normals or anything like that. Oh. Wow, that was a mistake there, definitely. See, that should have blended to a sharp edge. I didn't realise that. It's not the end of the world. So hang on, let's just get rid of... Let's get rid of that edge. Really need to find a different no copyright mix. Because it always seems to be the same, like, dozen songs. I normally prefer to do this listening to a podcast or something. Right, so... I am just purely guessing about what looks right at this point, so... So we've got some verts to merge. Must have been something it didn't like about that cut to leave the verts behind, so... So we need to find where this thickness actually transitions. Right, so that side is relatively flat, so let's assume... Well, they usually are asymmetric, to be fair. So let's grab those. I'm gonna say that it's typically that I'm a bit worried about. So let's try and scale that back in. smooth tool. It's not going to work for me. Right, let's cut the head off that. You can see where the screw-ups come in. No, I'm okay with that actually. I'm going to keep this as an arc and then go a slightly different way than we've done it before. Don't like the way that's showing up those vertex. There we go. The fact that they were showing like little vertex blobs when in the edge select mode indicates that this edge is going perpendicular to the to another edge or the very small edges. Sorry, I just need a drink. Yeah, so it's kind of like a warning indicator. So let's grab that up there. Rather than like extend this up by God knows how many, if I extend this and add like another 4 layers on top, what I want to do, or what I'm trying to do, is maintain a bit of a curve and shrink it down, and then we're going to come and pick a point, and then we're going to scale these back. But I want them to be a consistent flow. So if you build one off the other, you get you're building off the next layer. So if I was to do this now, and if I was to go right, extend and add, like there you go, four different layers, and then choose that, I'd then have to. All of these profiles from the top are the same as this profile here. Damn you, curse you, selection. So that the four above this are identical to that. But if I change this one, the ones above that are not identical to it. So I'm ended up building in errors. So if I build off one line at a time, although it's a little bit tedious and a little bit meh, it is a little bit more consistent. So if I go to my front view, that's because when I actually right, so let's zero that. So if I turn all this crap off behind it, should be a little bit more. So I'm going to use this line as our edge of demarcation. So I'm going to select that loop, exclude there, and I'm going to scale from here. And what I want to do is try and make it as even as I can. Until we get roughly about here. So there's another way to do this as well. Yeah, let's sod that, right. So I'm going to remove that. Sorry, I'm working out better ways to do things as I go. So I'm going to remove that. I am going to scale this back from to here. So again, lesson learned before. So we're just going to grab that, extend it up, swap to the front view. All of this is the living personification of you live and learn. So again, exclude that. So we can grab that line now. let's grab that top edge. So we were using that, weren't we? So, right. So I am gonna go extrude, or extend rather, straight up. It's about there. I'm gonna move my tool properties box out of the way so I can see, so just scaling this down so it fits the crown. Again, I'm just judging a curve. It's purely eyeball at this point. Don't get locked up in just doing everything because there's a tool there. Play around with the scaling, see what you come up with, because the tool it's programmed. There's a fixed set of rules with it, and it will always scale mathematically. I know that's obvious to say, but you're going to get things that don't quite look right to the human eye. So this is 3D art to a degree, so you know, treat it as art. And that is Rock's profound lesson for the evening. Well, I tend to be a bit of an idealist. I don't tend to be that deep about this sort of stuff. But I think I said yesterday, some things just look right to the human eye, others don't. So it always pays just to step back and have a look. And if it stands out on a photograph, that's the bit that you should be focusing on. In your model. Right. Not the masterwork of perfect polyflow, but there's ways and means to do that. I am gonna just quickly mainly because I know that I'm going to be cutting into this, so it's just going to be a little bit easier if it's a bit more predictable. It's a bit triggering also for my particular brand of tism. I've never been diagnosed, but I definitely have it. I'm just what degree on the scale, I have no idea. But my brother recently got diagnosed at 55, so he's struggled his entire life. He's had a bloody good career, but everybody struggled with focus and frustration for years. And we had a conversation not so long ago. We came to the conclusion that my father was autistic, or rather our father was autistic, and our mother had ADHD. So some of the behaviours make sense in hindsight, you know what I mean? And I probably have a bit of both. And my brother definitely does, as he was diagnosed, but he's He's a fully qualified electrician. You know, comms, he's extremely intelligent when he wants to be. Plays dumb when he doesn't. Gets bored easily and wanders off. Right. So again, just gonna quickly do an unwrap. So the other thing is, nice thing of doing an unwrap, you can see where the problems are. So I've got some edges. I've got a face here that's straight. So if I go view fit selected, so I've actually got polygons on these edges from where they've been cut or scaled and not fixed. Likewise, polygon there. So if I grab all of that, oh look at that. Excuse me, right. Edge remove. So again, geometry, vertex merge. Geometry, mesh cleanup. 101 normal's fixed. And bingo. We've still got a couple of bits we need to sort out. So selecting those. That is actually one vertex. So since we haven't unwrapped it again, let's unwrap it again and see if those issues go away. Yeah, they do. So removing those couple of those extra lines and the stray faces fixed a lot of it. So right. So where are we? Let's go back to the tail boom. Let's turn the tail boom back on. We can get rid of these now, because they were just temporary holding bits. That can go, because you don't need that anymore. Right. I'm going to duplicate this and mirror it, because the next bits are asymmetrical. So I've just split and moved them off, but I'm just going to turn that UV texture over. Sorry, I'm getting really sore throat the last couple of days, and I cannot stop drinking. Right. So I can see some potential problems here in terms of the blend, but yeah. again, just eyeballing. I could go back, wipe out a couple of these loops, and then use a blend, having just set the top, and that is... yeah, let's do that. That way it is going to be consistent. So if I slide this a little bit more, there we go, and we go into bevel. And what I can do now, just get rid of that. Slide this down a little bit. Okay. You know, that might actually not be the worst idea. That's what I'm thinking to myself, and I'm talking to myself. Okay. So I am gonna guess 100 mil radius at the top. So, looking at that, it's the leading edge of that, I think. Is going to be around about there. So if I scale that, so let's scale that to 150. Yeah, 150 looks good. Let's go back to wireframe. So grab that edge. So there's a couple of things I can do here. Oh, there we go. Beautiful work, good to see you still on it. Thank you. Hey Rock, good to see you back. Ditto, I haven't seen you for ages, mate. Wow. Cheers guys, thanks for popping in. Sorry I didn't see you earlier. The Pumas will also be making a comeback, I will say that. Right, so let's grab those, that, and that. I am just going to slide the edges. Don't like to slide as a group, which is interesting to note, because they're trying to maintain the curve. Let's slide these a little bit further up. And with them still selected, we're going to do a bevel. It's going to be one round. So let's go to the front. We're going to set you at 0. So you can see this. If I remember rightly, this is fixed. I don't think it is actually rotating. So what I want to do is I want that left edge to be that panel line there. So I'm going to say that looks about right. I seem to remember them being fixed, not pitching. So do we have a front view? Yes, we have a front view. Right, so we can now see how wide that is. So I'm going to go to polygon mode, select polygon. Right, so there's a couple of things I want to try. I don't know whether this is going to work exactly how I'm planning it or thinking about it. So if I extrude that out, go into edge mode, edge bevel. It's already not working how I thought it was going to work, but it's not the end of the world. try and get you into a position that we can see what's going on, because I'm in my own little world. So what I'm trying to do right now is do a bit of a clean up. So actually this is probably going to be better from the left hand. There we go. Much better. Right, so what I'm trying to get these roughly at about halfway between that center line and there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see how it's affecting the shading. And the shading is an indication of the normals. Oh, excuse me. I had some noodle soup earlier that is again repeated on me. Spicy noodle. Right, so what I want to do now is select that loop. Let's go to front view for the moment. And I am just going to slide that a little bit better that way. I'm going to do a nice little bevel. No, we're not at that point. Right. So scale this down. I wanted to hear as well as a friend of mine who's currently in the States but is in the process of moving back. He's been working for Boeing for a number of years, but the way things have gone, his entire family voted to move back home, so he might be coming on and joining me on the stream for a little bit on some things in a few weeks, because he used to be Arma4 on Lynxes and Apache. He went to work for Boeing a couple of years, well, more than a couple of years ago. He worked on Apache and Chinook and a number of other bits. Did some autonomous things, which was interesting. But now he's got a job offer over here. But he's He's a fascinating guy to talk to, and he's got lots of fun bits. Mostly about getting stuck inside a Lynx inspection hatch is the one that I remember. His nickname among our group of friends was I'm Ollie, the guy I can fit in there, Ollie, or that looks big enough. So I'm just going to grab those edges. So I am unsure about this one. Let's go back and use the old one. Right. See, I've got the old one coming all the way up to the front. So we're just going to solo view, make it a bit easier. See, I've got it coming all the way up to the front, and it looks to be on here. It's definitely not coming all the way up to the front. Also, that's a bit more pronounced than I thought it was. Okay, that I've just realised I have dropped a clanger. That is right. There's actually a post head in that. Not post head, sorry. Yeah, I know what I mean. Right. Because this is sat inside the main frame, a lot of it we don't need to see. So I'm going to slice, because texture space in the UV is at a premium. Come on, find me something that you'll do. So it's surprising actually how much just trimming off the bits that you don't normally see saves you. I'm a little bit annoyed because I've just realised I cocked up at some point. I mean, it's all fixable, it's all early days, but wasn't really paying attention when I should have been. Not that it's hugely important, but see, there's a pronounced bit there. So So that needs squaring out. Just dragging those away so I can work on them. Whoops. So let's drag that away behind. So what's actually happening is that's being squared off from, so I can actually probably, so by the time that it reaches this face, so I'm just gonna keep working on this, right? Sorry, I'm bouncing backwards and forwards with ideas in my head that I'm not explaining because I've not committed to them yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna square this out. So if I stop fucking around. That may... It's just going to add another face in, so it's not the end of the world. So effectively what we've got now is another loop. Another profile of loops, I should say. God, there's already so many fuck-ups in this. Right, so that is superfluous to the arc. So is that one. And that one. Right, so yeah, this cowling, it looks to be it's an engineering cowling, so there's machinery underneath that needs the space, so it's not going to be consistent. If that makes any sense to anyone that's listening. Kind of thrown myself a little bit. I thought it snapped on that. So essentially, we are replacing this top cap. I need to get it to blend in. It's maybe a bit more of a challenge than I want, but. So let's grab those. Vertex, set position 0. So let's fill that gap in. Again, we're going to be doing some cuts and blends and Shazbot later on. I'm a little bit annoyed, but c'est la vie. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. In my own little world. Yeah. So a couple of friends that are sort of aerospace and mod and do whatever we've been talking about. Not necessarily doing a podcast, but just having a chat while we make stuff online and streaming that. Sort of comparing notes, different game engines, that kind of thing. There's a couple of people I know from the industry that just come on and shoot the shit kind of thing. And I've even talked about bringing on some colleagues from work and whatever that do geopolitical stuff, but I don't really want to get into the politics on this, even though I do spend an awful lot of time on it in my own free time, and that all of that is because of the qualification that I'm going after. I'm going after a master's in geopolitics and security, so if you're part of my Discord, it's a large reason why I post so many links to news articles and whatever. Don't always agree with them. It's just I like to have them handy for a reference, that's all. And I've discovered that even though not many people seem to comment on posts because there's some fear of being seen as or cast as some sort of political label, I have quite a few interesting conversations with people not in the public light, but in DM or private comms about the state of the world. And it isn't just grumpy old men like me. It's a couple of younger guys coming in that are considering joining various national services and just having a chat about the state of the world. And if it doesn't interest you, great, no problems. I just personally think that if you're going to join the military, you should kind of know what the state of the world is before kind of committing your mind, body, and arse to something before you and make sure that you understand why you're going somewhere and who benefits. Because if anything's shown just how corrupt the world is, it's been the last 13, 14 months of you've seen how people have profited. So, the trick now, or the issue that I have now, is blending these loops into this. And the other interesting thing, or the other thing that's I find personally interesting and helpful about the geopolitical stuff is it's always interesting to see how other people view the news and what they think affects them and what doesn't. I always find that really fascinating. Because even apathy is a political position. But it's the politics that affect the thing that I'm more interested in, which is defence industry. This new medium helicopter for the UK has been much delayed, much screwed up. There was only really ever going to be one political outcome that was going to be acceptable to the British government and industry, which is the Leonardo AW149. I know quite a few people wanted Black Hawks, but technically they're considered old hat, which is something that I thought was hilarious to hear. But when one of the guys actually explained what the issue was, it kind of makes sense. And now that the US is also being seen as a rather unreliable partner, it also makes a little bit more sense. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to try and blend this a little bit more. If I go into solid, the hell? Come on. Flip that. Right, so I'm just going to merge those two. And I'm going to shrink that down. But the interesting thing, again, just go back at this, is Leonardo, who make the aircraft, bought out or were merged with Augusta Westland. Oh, sorry, right. Going backwards, currently it's Leonardo. It used to be Augusta Westland, and then Augusta Westland was rebranded into Leonardo, but eventually. But prior to that, it was just Westland. They made the links in cooperation with Aerospatiale, and it is the only remaining helicopter airframe manufacturer in the UK that's military rated. There are a number of other ones, small companies that do some niche business helicopters and sports helicopters and things like that. But nothing that would fulfill a military contract. Right. Yeah. So thing is, we're tied in with the blackout thoughts. We're tied in with Leonardo on the GCAP slash Tempest slash whatever you want to call it now. It seems to change its designation in government programs, or at least UK government programs, every few weeks. It's part of the FCAS, which is also the acronym used by the French-German equivalent. The problem is, anyway, so we annoy Leonardo over NMH, the new medium helicopter. Let them down, screw them around, which we have been doing, or the UK government has been doing. That puts strain on the cooperation for GCAP, which is again also being strained by the UK government's lackadaisical approach to procuring GCAP or releasing funding for GCAP. Talking to people, industry people that are old friends of mine as much as anything else, that are getting frustrated. They are literally just waiting on the UK government to pull a finger out of whatever orifice it's stuck in at the moment. And to move forward, and currently that's just not happening. It's been stalled over the defence investment plan. So, and that's stalled because of politics, and a large part because of the geopolitics of what's happening with Europe and America. And so you kind of get interested in the defence procurement side, which is my first masters, only to discover that it's the politics and security that's driving all that. So for me, it's a logical connection. I'm not going to say it's all the same thing, but it is definitely very much all connected. Right, so I'm now a little bit concerned about, I'm not bothered about the top half of this now. I'm concerned about the back edge of that boom. We may have to resort, so okay, right. So sharp edge rounded out. So we're looking quite good. On that. Because what I can do or maybe I can't. Right, so I'm going to grab that face. Let's grab that. So I am just going to grab the edges of these and scale them out just so that I can have a guide to experiment. Because what I need to do is narrow down the rear of the hull here, and it's a bit hard to do that and preserve that blend without tweaking some things. So what I want to do before I go mad, I'm going to move this. So. Yeah, let's sod it. Let's just get rid of the lot. So what I'm thinking, what am I thinking? So what I want to do is, I think, is turn symmetry on. And I want to start changing the rate in which these blend in. Again, I'm just eyeballing stuff just to see whether or not it fits. So again, found a few issues here. So we need to fix some of that. Right. Saw someone make a crappy comment on the Discord about me being slow modeler. I'd rather spend the time here. I mean, none of this is planned, none of this is scripted. I've not rehearsed any of this. You're seeing me solving problems real time. But I'd rather spend the time right at the start and get it looking right, have to keep going back and bodging in. At the end of the day, it's just about finding a workflow you're comfortable with. And I'm comfortable with rebuilding something 4 or 5 times over until I get it right. But if you don't have time for that, it's up to you. Nobody is forcing you. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be meditative. Well, I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it is for me. Right, so what we've done is narrowed down the bum of this a little bit, which we could probably do with being a bit more tapered. I don't know whether we can. Talking of being okay, just redoing everything. Again, I don't mind this track, I'm just sick of hearing the fucking thing. I mean, this has been, I'm pretty sure I've heard this at least twice tonight. Right, so let's scrub that, drag this down here. So if I... See, I mean, I'm just more concerned about ensuring consistency of polygon flow. Because when I originally did this, we did it off part of the scale diagram. See, that is a much better shape. Much prefer that. Can I slide a vert? Yes, I can. Can we slide more than one vert? Ooh. Right, that I can live with. friggin' hell happened there? Bottom. Right, so some of this is obviously not good. So let's do a little bit of repair work and try and get it to blend a little bit better. So we're now a little bit more consistent, but because what I want to do is I want it to curve a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is going to do edit. So if I do that, I've now got a line that I can use as guide. So if I do this, so I'm going to only select these bottom 3 edges. What I'm effectively doing is constructing a more gentle, or rather a less uniform transition. So if I turn that off, so let's see how this one pairs out. So I need to go back and fix all that down there, but so I'm going to blow away all of that. I'm not going to make it asymmetric. At least I'm not going to adapt it just yet. Right, so I can see a bit of mesh smoothing coming up. But I'm not immediately worried. I am in awe of some of the 3D arts that I've seen. It just seemed to be a plonk a primitive down and sculpt it to shape within 15 minutes and then move on. Don't know how they do that without scripting it first. I mean, the one thing I will say is it is much easier to make something like a fantasy object than it is to make an accurate representation of a tank or a plane or a gun or whatever. If you don't know what it, if you don't have a reference for it, you don't know what it looks like, you can get away with a lot more crime. You can take a lot more liberties. It's not untruthful to say that I have actually had people complain about rivet placement on textures. I mean, it sounds insane, but I've literally had somebody mid-game, it was a multiplayer session, catch me in the Discord, in the TeamSpeak chat, at the start of the game, telling me that I got such and such wrong, and like your fuel filler cap was on the wrong side or something. Or I made the wrong vehicle. That was another one. It's actually a famous one with Mike Phoenix. Somebody else told him that he'd made the wrong scimitar because it was too big and blah blah blah. And the guy didn't realise that there was actually a scimitar 2 based on a Spartan. And he posts pictures of himself stood next to a scimitar. And it turned out it was a scimitar 1, not a scimitar 2. He kind of made a tit of himself. But there's there's a few things like that. And then there's some justified stuff. I got pinged by a guy that flies Wildcats or flew Wildcats to tell me some of the things that I got wrong, which was really quite entertaining and very useful. One of my best friends actually came out as a result of that. He randomly caught a stream when I was talking about something on the Puma years ago, and he used to fly them for 120 Squadron. And he goes, "Get your ass down to Benton and I'll show it to you." And I was wondering at Benson Airfield, Air Base rather, or whatever, air station, with this guy literally pulling panels on aircraft and having a chat. He's fully retired now. He's well and truly in the barn. quite literally in his case, because his missus, his kids have got horses. So he spends most of his time cleaning out their horses for him. But he went through Cromwell about 10 years before I did. So he's well and truly retired now. I think he's 67 or something now. Anyway, yeah, people, going back to this, people will pick up on little stuff and go, "That's not right. Your model shit," and blah, 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 blah. And it's just, it not only sucks the fun out of modding at times, especially if it's not done in a constructive way, but it's bloody mean. Right, I don't want a double slice on that. People spend a lot of time making models, and it's not always very nice when somebody comes up and shits on them. So, be nice, be constructive, be helpful. And if you're criticizing, provide proof. Because you would not believe the amount of people that make accusations without actually knowing what they're talking about. I even had my dad says, from a 32-year-old man. And I will say, his dad had no fucking clue what he was talking about. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but my friend sat behind me. She's pissing herself laughing. What'd you say? No, the mic's not catching you up. Okay. She just asked if it was her father-in-law. Right, well, after all this fucking about, let's go back to front. Duplicate, mirror. Yeah, it is incredibly involved, and I don't know. I'd like to say most of the time it pays off, but we will see. Right. I'm kind of happy. Well, I'm not kind of happy. I'm quite happy with that, actually, how that's turning out. I do have some concerns, but I think that is more down to either some stray geometry somewhere. Yeah. So I need to get this to look cleaner and smoother. See, it digs in. But first, I need to go and have a pee. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back. That was better. So let's finish this. Right. So let's go on the bottom. Look at that. Okay, that's angled. I can see why I did that now. I'm gonna drop that face. Extend. Now, if I turn the hull back on, you can see I've only got one face there. So let's grab. So don't quite know how. See, that's sharp finish. So by rights, I should just remove that edge. But the problem is, there's a shroud that comes up. So it's bulged out. So if we maximize this. Somewhere, and it may be in the HC4 folder, which we're already in. It's fairly sure I actually did have a picture of the tail wheel, but it looks like I'm wrong. Oh, there it is. And typically, right, yeah, you can see there's a shroud there. Yeah, it's almost straight, isn't it? Right, so bye edge. So that is actually sliced up. So I am gonna delete the, actually no. I'm only gonna delete that one. Because I want to take this edge. And then I want to extend it from here to there. That way the polygon flow is consistent. And if I go to the right side, go back into wireframe, grab that, and slice down. And what I should... So this really should be part of the boat hull, but I'm going to stick that in tail. Because I really need to be able to close these. Right. Let's grab that. Okay, look, good night. That is my friend just saying good night. Right. She says good night stream. Don't know how many people are viewing. I haven't got the stats up. If anybody is, I could just be sat here talking to myself. Will not be the first time or the last time. So I've just slapped that down. It's not in the right place, so I'm just going to put it on the 0 plane. The problem is, if I fix this now, it messes that up, so I'm not going to stick with the drawing. I am going to adjust I'm going to go 36 round at the moment. And there is a reason for that at the moment, because we will thin that out later. The more faces, the more potential contact spots, so... what we're looking to do... is roughly match that angle. So I'm just going to scale it up a little bit. Come on, you sod.
Feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing.
5.8 will do. So what I want, or more precisely what I need to do, is close this box, because it's just going to make life a lot easier. So I'm going to turn off those side views, right. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn this into effectively a solid, and then use union to merge it into the shape. A Boolean union. I need to split that onto a new object to do that. Bloody hell, right. Come on. So let's just grab polygons. Let's turn off everything behind it. So I need to put the object that I want to merge into it behind it. Geometry, polygon Boolean, make that union. Right. So that doesn't quite look right to me, given the side view that I had. So we're going to do some undos. There we go, right? And we are going to make it a bit more prominent, which realistically I think that is probably more accurate to the size that we want. Just, yeah. Polygon, Boolean, union. See, that looks a lot more like it. So the next bit, I don't want to discard this, so I am gonna just call that something random. It doesn't have to be anything special. stray single vertex, right? So, I'm going to create a box. 1 meter wide. Just turn the hull back on. Right, so I want that point to intersect that vertex. So I just selected that face. I'm going to extrude that down. So we now should have a former that I'm going to use to cut this to pieces. So if I go geometry boolean subtract, it's now subtracted that part of the mesh. So it should still be a solid. There we go. Right. So because I didn't want to get rid of my cylinder earlier on, I can now just shrink that to about 85. And I come back in here and go geometry, boolean, subtract. So I've now got this cavity that I can shove my landing gear into. So let's get rid of these back faces because we're not going to use them. Let's go on to the right. Wireframe. So we're not using any of the bits that you're not going to see external to the airframe. So again, yeah, we're not going to see that. So, I've screwed up here. I've just realised I screwed up. But it's not the end of the world, because what we can do is you can go into here. We now have a really high polygon interior that we don't need. The only reason I wanted it was for these external cuts. So I am just going to go into every other edge. And I'm just going to go remove. So we've now got a lower poly face. I think I've just got a really nice compliment telling me to shut up. My friends that are staying with me, they're moving out tomorrow. They're getting a new house. They should be getting the keys. Oh, we're packing up tomorrow. We should be getting the keys Monday. A friend that's just gone upstairs. She's gone to bed. Her husband's working late. She just said, "You have such a lovely voice that I can hear from the bed upstairs." I'm on the ground floor of a 3-story house, and apparently she could still hear me. And I thought I was talking quietly, so I think I've just been told to shut up. Anyway, I'm not doing that. It's my house, and it's before midnight. I've just got a text to say, I heard that. It's honestly been fun having people stay with me for a little while. I get treated like a hotel because of where I live in the country. I'm literally in the middle, so as my friends pass, they usually come in for an evening and then disappear the next day. Right, so tail boom. So what I need, let's get rid of that. I'm going to use the tail boom to cut this. Ooh, lots of horrible. Yeah. Ouch. So that could just be an artifact, but I don't think it is, given it's triangulated. I'm going to say an artifact is, it's an artifact of the cut, a result of the cut, or the slice. Sometimes the engine flips faces or twists them when you do cuts, so that's why, Booleans especially, it makes a mess of them. This is why I always kind of prefer slice, but you can go around and clean up much easier on the verts than you can on multiple faces. So let's double click that. Let's bring that back into here. So what I want to do, what I would like to do is actually go and have a steak. Right, so if you go onto the back view, it's only one symmetry, and we are going to slide this a little bit. see a little edge up there, which means there's a oh. Right. Right, so we are definitely back to being symmetrical. Yay! Right. Ooh, it's making me a bit seasick. There we go. Right. Absolute pig's ear of the UV. So let's go and sort the UV out to make my life a little bit easier later in life. Symmetry off. Again, just doing this to make life easier later on when I do come to properly UV this. But I'm also, one of the things it does, you can see this is all distorted. So there's likely going to be a problem up here that I need to fix in here. Especially since the other side just UV'd a lot more nicely. A lot nicer. Grammar. It exists for a reason. Oh, for fluffy bunny's sake. Ah, that kind of explains it. The controller was not facing north. So there exists a problem between here and here. Because if I do a UV like that, it comes out. There's a problem here, but let's focus on this for the moment. So that has got something to do with normals, because the UV is basically calculated off normals. And this is going to be because of a non-merged vert. There you go, two vertices that are not joined in the system. Go to model, join average. So let's go in there. Right. So it is to do with that last bit, that last conversion there from that edge. So how many edges are 17 edges. So I do the full loop, that should be 34, okay. Let's do a mesh cleanup, see if that finds anything. Face normal vectors, disco values, float inverts. see if that fixed it. No. So more often than not, these are due to faces being sat next to each other, or verts sat next to each other. Polygon, align, no polys flipped, right. Geometry, polygon, unify. Right, okay. I wonder. So that's mapped okay. As is that. Sugar. None of this is the end of the world. Like I say, it needs sorting out properly anyway, but I just prefer to have everything cleaned up before I move on, because it's easy to fix the problem in the first instance before you start piling more detail and more cuts into it, and it annoys me if I'm behind, really. Could that be it? Realise we've not done the prop side either. Let's go on the right. I'm going to grab all of those. It auto-saves, but it doesn't hurt to save every once in a while. Right, so let's go drop that in tail boom. So you can see how it shades nicely and blends. That's kind of what all the faff was about. You can see it a little bit better if I change the lighting every once in a while. Excuse me. Right, so we are 3 hours in. Shit, didn't realise it would take that long. I am determined to finish this section tonight. We may not end up doing the tail wheel, but to try and get all that together. So the obvious sensor is quite literally in the center of the hub. So 150 mil. I'm going to make it 24-sided for the moment. I will take that down later if needs be. Don't think there is a back view on this drawing. So it is gated. Gated? What was I saying? Gated. It is fluted was the phrase I was looking for, I think. But I also suspect it's offset because there's no way it's that big. So we need to go from the top of the profile . So it's kind of hoping for a potential there, but it's not the end of the world. So how deep are we looking? So the base of that is probably not wrong. So let's move that in. Snap off. Because you're being frustrating. Right. Oh, crap you. Edge remove. So we're doing exactly the same thing we did before, really, in terms of scaling this. Same thing we did for the wing on the other side, sorry. Or the tail blade. Okay, day is catching up with me. So rather than mess with the scale of this, what I'm just gonna do is grab those loops. I'm just gonna slide them. So, think Okay. Well, I've just realised something anyway, based on this. So if I grab all those edges, this edge can't be any further back than wherever it meets this. Because that is, it is sat on a centre line admittedly, but it can't be any further back. So let's 9mm down. 9mm up. Let's get rid of these because it's not the shape that I want. And I'm gonna go edge bevel. Supposed to be 100. There we go. So it's a much more aerodynamic shape. So I'm gonna grab that vert, that vert. Again, just making life a little bit easier for selection later on. So we are getting closer. So I made an assumption there that I'm just going to check whether or not I've screwed up. I think I have screwed up. Bollocks. Why is it you can never find the picture that you want? See, cruelly, that's on the other side. Just the bit that I want. There we go. Still not showing me what I want because I wanted to see the top edge. And I suspect the reason that is it needs to follow. Oh dear. I'm going to confirm it before I actually do anything, but I suspect it's going to follow that top edge. Because if I was making this, I'd make it the simplest way I could. There you go. It follows the profile and meets the profile. Right. Show. What I need. So I'm gonna grab. Oh, right, yeah. I just completely remembered. I forgot to mention it earlier on. Trip to Cosford was fun. Kids had a blast. Yeah, had my usual. I do like a. It's like a spiel, but it's not. Every time I go around the museum, I tend to be like a tour guide for my friends. It kind of explains significance and like little important bits of why this aircraft's here and stories about it, kind of thing. And somewhere in the World War II hall, we picked up a couple that were always about sort of 3-4 meters away from us. I find this funny. It's a compliment, but 3 or 4 meters from us, just following us, listening. There's me, another friend of ours called Colin, who is an airframe engineer, a maintenance engineer. Works commercial now, but he used to be RAF. He was a Master Chief, not Master Chief, he was Flight Sergeant, he used to call Chief. But he was previously, in his earlier career, an air crewman. So, he was essentially, before they got rid of him, engineer. Flight engineer, rather. So between us, we were bamboozling the kids with questions and trivia. And by the time we got through onto Hall 4, we had like 6 couples behind us and kids. And every once in a while, you get a shh, let the man speak. I want to hear this. So we had some fun. It's ended up my mates made some friends, and the kids made some friends, and had a bit of a chat. It's always entertaining. I keep getting asked if I want to apply to be a volunteer at the museum. I wish I could. I really do, because I enjoy the place, but it's a little bit too much with my back. I can't spend a day doing that at a decent pace, so... Right, so let's grab that. It's entertaining to come out of that to discover that the US had literally started blowing the crap out of Iran. And I'm not saying that I support the Iranian regime in any way, shape or form, but America doing that because, well, effectively because he couldn't get, Trump had a kind of temper tantrum and couldn't get a deal. It's a bit of a surprise. And there will be consequences for the rest of the world because of it. Interest rates, oil prices, whatever else. And I'm not saying that I support the regime in any way, shape or form, because I bloody well don't. I know quite a few Iranians in the UK, and some of them are absolutely the loveliest people you ever want to meet. I have complete sympathy for whatever they want to do. And right now, getting rid of the regime, yeah, I just don't know that it's their interests that Trump is looking out for. I strongly suspect it's more about his own. So, let's get rid of that. And I'm sure it's a fantastic distraction from the Epstein files. we grab that vert, go down the line and scale it a little bit, that may look a little bit more natural. Right. Well, let's see what happens. I was just about to slice all that off and I just remembered it doesn't necessarily fit. Because it's all tapered. So if I do this, I don't want to cut them because I don't want to add more polygons in unnecessarily, and I could spend a lot of time matching and ensuring that everything connects, but I don't see the point. Again, it's not an area you're going to look at. And if somebody does a video with all the characters staring at the bits of the airframe that I've screwed up or underpolyed when it finally gets released, I will laugh my arse off. But I'm willing to bet that 99.99% of people, probably more than that actually, will never know. And will never notice, and will never care. Almost to the point where I'm going to say probably the only person that will notice and will care is me. So... Right. See, that already looks better and cleaner. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So, anti-collision lights. I do actually have an anti-collision light modelled already somewhere, but... 40 by 80 by 200 for the moment. 16 sides. Let's rotate in the Z axis. Let's just go back into wireframe. So, as always, quick unwrap. Just stitch them together. Just for the moment, so that we don't lose them. So, if I go to the back here, sorry, when you move between modes, it swaps, it remembers the old views, so it's right, bouncing around a little bit. Right, so 20mm radius. 0.1. Right. So let's move this. That was a copy and paste. Extrude that out. Drop the front face, delete the back face. And again, this is something you're probably never going to see, or you're never going to look at, and it's going to be semi-transparent, so it doesn't have to be mega high poly. You'll notice a flash, but I very much doubt you'll actually look at it. So, I just want to grab that quickly. Let's go on top. So there's a couple of ways I can unwrap this. I could literally just grab it all and go unwrap, but you see it distorts, and you don't get the best texel to square millimeter sort of precision. So I tend to split them like that. Stitch them and then go in. That way everything is at the same texel resolution for that shape. Lenses, on the other hand, like this, I will do like usually relax unwrap. There we go. Yellow means it's inside out, so it's not a big deal. But in this case, the bottom of this is actually meant to be a metal base. So I'm going to go to the top. Just going to unwrap those. Texture. I'm going to put that on the glass material. Because sections affect performance. So sections is the number of times that a material is called. So it's going to be, it pays to have your glass pieces on a different texture, so you can have a different material tag assigned to it. So we go in there. Right, so we need that mount and that mount. So let's turn all this crap back on. So I mean, I can stay on and do the landing gear, but it's probably going to be another hour or so. And it's going to make for a very long broadcast, and I do need to take a bit of a break. So what I might do, actually what I am going to do, is I'm going to call it quits here. Because I'm pretty sure we've got a good tail boom. I'm probably going to make the tail wheel offline. Because it's pretty much the same technique as that. It's not going to be as the landing gear, the main landing gear we did the other day. There's nothing new to show in there really. But tomorrow, what I'm going to do is start blocking out with the interior. Certainly get the. I'm going to take the hull. I'm going to do a little bit of an offset on the walls, and then we can start sort of sketching out the interior space, because that is going to affect some versions of where we put windows and things like that. So I want to try and get ahead of that, and that it's probably going to be more interesting to actually see, because you'll see it come to life. But the reason for doing that as well is when we get to do the cockpit, it may affect where the cockpit doors are and how we got to approach that. So it's potentially far more interesting. But for now, I think that's it. I think that's what we're going to call it as. Like I said, didn't really get to do the wheel, but we'll sort that. Anyway, thank you very much. I'm done for the night, at least online. I've got a couple more hours of things I need to do. So talk to you later. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the guys that popped in earlier on. Not seen Dado and others for a while, and appreciate the company. Bye bye.